Welcome to the 2026 Fairfax Area High School Student Shark Tank Technology Challenge. I'm Carmen Trina Kiers with the Department of Neighborhood and Community Services. We saw Teams 1 and 2 compete in Episode 1, and now we welcome Team 3 from Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology with the project Memory Wall. Please introduce yourself and tell us about your project.
Hello everyone, my name is Audrey Wong and I'm a junior at Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology. My partner for this project was Marcus Wong. He was unfortunately unable to make it today because he is on a 4-day band trip in Chicago, so I will be presenting for the both of us today. Our project is called Memory Wall, and with Memory Wall we aim to preserve memories and facilitate independence to families and individuals everywhere. So let's get down to the problem. Studies show that about 1/3 of adults 65 or older experience any form of mild cognitive impairment, and this often comes with memory loss. And memory loss can make it very difficult for individuals to remember loved ones or important memories in their life, as well as keep track of their daily routines. And while many existing technologies already that help with memory loss, most of them rely on complicated technological experience or complicated user interfaces or hard to navigate screens and menus that ultimately make it a hassle to use. So for this reason, families need an easier and more personal way to reconnect with their families. So our mission when creating this project had 3 goals. The first goal was to create a product that would utilize simple and accessible technology that would help those with cognitive decline. Our second goal was to stimulate memory recall through personal details and emotional connection. And finally, our third goal was to assist in daily routines with visual representations and concise directions. So our inspiration for this project was our very own grandmother. She is 87 years old and was showing early signs of mild cognitive decline. She often had trouble remembering to take her daily medicines or remembering significant moments in her life. So we knew that because of her old age, she would find it challenging to use the technologies that were a little bit more expertised, and we thought that it would be beneficial to create a product that would utilize simple technology to still help her recall her memories. So that's why we created Memory Wall. So Memory Wall is a personalized photo display that basically pairs meaningful photographs with audio storytelling. As you can see on my prototype here, each photograph pictures important people from the person's life or significant memories, as well as daily routines such as medication. When scanned, each QR code will link to an audio message that is AI generated that will play, and it will describe who is in the photo, what happened in the photo, and any emotions that the person might have been feeling when the photo was taken. As well as if it was about a daily routine, it would describe the details about how to navigate through that routine. And by combining visual images and familiar voices, the memory wall will help trigger a memory recall in a very natural way. So now I will give you a live demonstration of this product and how it would be used. So all the user needs is a smartphone, and just any smartphone with a camera app will be fine. You will go onto your camera app and then choose whichever photo you desire to learn about. So if I just want to do this one, I will put my camera over the QR code right here and click on the link that pops up. The link will take you to the audio message that was generated. And then you can just hit the play button.
This is a photo of you driving your car, a blue Volkswagen Beetle. Back then, it was uncommon for a woman to drive in Taiwan, so driving made you stand out. You drove everywhere in this car, shopping, taking your kids to activities, and visiting your parents.
So that was just one example of the many photographs that are on this display. As you can see, it talked about what was happening in the image as well as some background information so that the user can understand and think about what they did in their past. So this is our creation process for making this product. We started off by going to New York to visit our grandmother. We knew that she had thousands of photos collected in photo albums, so she helped us pick out some of the most meaningful ones that included the most important people to her, as well as some of the most significant memories that she made. We also went and took photos of her medication that she was taking in the present moment. And then my dad and her both helped me and my brother with the background stories to these photos because, as you can tell, I was not in the world for most of these photos. This was all like in her past before I was born. So my dad and her told us about these photos, told us the story behind these photos, and then we were able to write up the stories. And then afterwards, we converted these texts to AI-generated audio messages with a free AI platform. Afterwards, we connected these audio messages to a QR code. Each one has a corresponding audio message, and we used a free QR generator platform to do this. After this, we combined all the QR codes with the photos themselves using the Microsoft Paint app. And then we used the Walgreens Photo Studio to print the photos out with better quality. And then finally, we assembled everything together with the felt board. So just as a quick overview of the technology that I just mentioned, most technology that was used in this creation process was all free. The QR code generator was free. The text-to-speech AI was free. We used a laptop for most of this process. The only thing that costed money besides the felt board itself was the Walgreens Photo Studio, which was about $10. So why does this product work when we're talking about helping people with cognitive decline? So one study shows that reminiscence therapy can be helpful to maintain or improve cognitive function, decrease anxiety, and manage depressive symptoms and altered behavior. So we see that we are trying with this product to help those with cognitive decline, and also memory loss. But aside from cognitive decline, we also can help with this product anxiety and depressive behavior, and we thought that this was an increased benefit with our product. Even though our main goal is to help those retain memories a bit easier, we thought it was very interesting with the research that we did that we would also be able to help with these other symptoms. So when testing this, we tested with our grandmother. We went back to New York to show her our finished product. We showed her how to use it. We went through the steps, and she very easily picked it up, and she tried it for herself. So during our testing, we saw that she had successfully picked up how to use the camera app to scan the QR code. She was very engaged in her listening. She seemed very focused on what the audio messages were saying. She also was able to successfully recall the memories that she had been hearing about in the audio messages. And finally, she showed a lot of personal and emotional connection to the stories that she was hearing. And one really interesting quote that we pulled from when we were testing this with her was that, "Your grandpa once won $500 at the casino. My sons and I were very happy and excited." So now on the following slide, I will show you a snippet from the video that we submitted with testing with our grandmother, and she will be talking about how she feels about our product. Okay, so Grandma, how is your experience using this memory wall, and how do you think it helps you?
I think this memory wall is a very good reminder to me. They can remind me to think of many things happening in the past.
Yeah, and do you think that using it was very easy, like scanning the QR codes? Was that easy?
Yeah, now I feel it's easier than before.
Yeah. Okay, and would you recommend it to other adults?
Yes, I hope everyone, they have a memory wall so they can, every day they can see the many picture from the past event, and so that they can think of the many things remembers many things in the past.
So as you can see from that video, my grandma thought it was easy to use the technology that we had taught her for how to use this wall. She also seemed to be very emotionally connected to what she had heard in the audio messages, and she did recommend it to other adults who were experiencing similar conditions. Now, as we said before, our main target audience for this product would be people who are experiencing mild cognitive decline, and many of these people go to different places to help them out, including assisted living communities, memory care centers, dementia support programs, and also therapy centers and hospitals. So we think that these places could greatly benefit from a product like Memory Wall, because people in those places would love to have something that they could look back on and learn more about their memories that they may have forgotten. And now when it comes to products that are assisting people with memory loss, there are thousands of apps, many websites, many platforms that all strive to do this. However, a lot of them that we saw kind of made it seem like it was more of a task rather than something that you can just do whenever you feel like doing it. Like, for example, something like a game that would require like a streak for you to keep going and keep exercising your brain. Many of them use screen fatigue, like the apps and the games. They require a lot of screen usage. It could be bad for the eyes. Many of them are dependent on caregivers to use and are not independently used. And finally, the most important thing is that they lack emotional and personal connection. For example, a memory game would just focus more on helping your brain exercise itself rather than showing personal photos from their life that would help them recall memories that actually happened to them. And in contrast, Memory Wall is a solution to all of these problems. It's constantly there on the wall. It would literally just be on your wall for whenever you decide that if you look at it and you want to learn more about a photograph, it's just there. You don't have to, it's not a task, it's not a hassle to use. Though there's no screen watching that's really involved because it's mostly based on audio messages. It's very independently used. Once the user figures out how to use it, they can just do it by themselves. They don't need a caregiver. And finally, there's abundant emotional and personal connection, as you saw in the demonstration and as you saw with the video with my grandma. It takes real life photos and memories that happened in their life, and it explains them. So as for future development, we want to make it so that everybody or all the users can do every step in a single platform with a single process. So how this would work is we would create a platform where the user can upload the photos and upload the desired stories or text. And then they can either choose to customize their own AI voice, and then the platform would generate the AI audio message for them, or they can choose to upload their own audio recordings if a family member instead wanted to record something, and they can upload it into the platform. Then the platform would create QR codes that would link to each generated audio message and correspond to each audio message. The platform would then combine the QR codes with the photos, as you can see here, and then the user can choose to customize their memory wall with the collage type, the size, the background color, etc. And then in addition, the platform would also do the delivery service right to where they want it to go. In addition to this main future development, we were also considering perhaps expanding our product type outside of just the memory wall itself. We were thinking we would also include memory books, memory photos, or just an item that you could put an image on. That would also, all of these would use the similar QR technology. Thank you so much for your attention, and I hope you consider that Memory Wall is the best product for people experiencing mild cognitive decline. Thank you.
About 10 minutes for questions, and we're going to start down at the end here for you.
Hi,
Great.
Hi.
What a beautiful, beautiful presentation you
Thank
have
you so
for us.
much.
I just want to mention, I love that a lot of what you're talking about is about preserving the physical copies of the photos. I think
Yes.
that's very beautiful. My question for you is there an ability to make the audio recordings have closed captioning?
That is definitely something that we considered. I didn't mention it before in the development slide, but I think since we would be coding up a platform and a website, we can definitely include that as an option. And I do think that would be very helpful, especially for maybe adults who are hard of hearing and they might need a closed caption option.
Thank you.
First, I want to say, great job. When I first saw the memory wall, the first thing I could think of was like, why didn't you just make a digital picture frame? And I just want to say, I love your explanation. I was thinking, I was like, for older generations, they had Polaroids. So I was like, oh, you know what? That's perfect, especially if you want someone who's dealing with like cognitive issues or anything. So I thought that was fantastic.
Thank you.
One of the things that we were talking about earlier was the QR codes. So just a quick question: Did your grandmother, was she able to use the phone to?
Yes.
Okay.
I do
So-
actually have my video on my other computer, the one that I uploaded to my submission, that it does demonstrate her using it, if you would like to see that.
Oh no,
but-
I believe
okay.
you. I just because
Okay.
I know that this is targeted towards more families, so they can help assist.
Yes.
What made you go with the QR codes over something like physical buttons or a touch screen in that matter?
We thought that, I guess, we wanted it to make it like the most physical as we could. So what you said about touch screens, I think we wanted to make it so that like most of the product itself was more of like a physical thing, but we wanted to incorporate that element of technology. And we saw how prevalent QR codes are in like everywhere. I guess anywhere you go, you would see a QR code that links something to something else. It's used by a lot of businesses, a lot of companies, and we thought that the QR code would be the best way to use like simple technology, especially for older adults who might struggle with harder technologies.
Okay.
Hey, how's it going? It's a really good idea. I really like it because not so long ago, my little brother passed away. And so
Oh, I'm
my mom
sorry.
has like a bunch of pictures and a digital frame, and she just sits there and watches it all the time. So I'm thinking if she had that and it actually had like a description of each picture and like my brother's voice or something like saying
Right.
this is what I was doing, like that, she would love that, and like people all over the world would love that. So another question I would have, because you didn't mention like price. Everybody else has said like this is how much my thing would cost. How much are you gonna sell your app for?
So I'm thinking if we get to the stage where we're expanding and like developing so that many people are all buying this product, we would sell it for easily like $30, because I feel like the amount of or the development of our platform would have cost or had a lot of time put into it, a lot of labor, and I feel like customers would be willing to spend that amount of money to have these memories, these explanations,
You
the
could probably
personal.
charge more than that because
Yeah.
that's people's memories. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So that means something to them. It's more personal than just going to the store and buying like clothing, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, it's a really
I'd
good
say
idea.
minimum $30, if not a lot more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really good.
I love the idea too. Excellent presentation. I love the simplicity of it. So, oftentimes people come in with very complex problems and try to come up with complex solutions. So I feel like this is a really simple solution. And you put a lot of thought and care into it. One thing I would ask is, are you familiar with technology? You talked about QR codes. Are you familiar with like NaviLens or ZapVision?
I'm afraid I don't. I'm sorry.
So those are accessible QR codes, and what that means and kind of how those devices are designed is the app is kind of designed so that I can hold my phone up from here, and essentially the app would capture that QR code and automatically read out whatever information I need or bring that information to me on the device. So it could be bringing that image to me, or bringing or having it read aloud, whether text to speech. Those technologies are not at a point where they've incorporated AI for like personal recordings or things like that, but you could bring that kind of stuff in.
Yeah.
The reason I mention that is because the population that you're marketing it to may have challenges. Like your grandmother could, tap that button, tap the camera and actually use that. Others may not be able to, but this solution would be just as beneficial for them. So that broadens the market that you're considering. So think about automating that, the reading, the capture of the QR code and the reading out loud of the recording and all that kind of stuff, automating it so that users don't necessarily have to press that camera button. The idea is awesome, though. It's a great idea.
Yeah, thank you so much for that suggestion. I was actually talking to my dad about this yesterday, about how maybe adults who are experiencing cognitive decline but are also maybe physically, they perhaps can't use their arm or their hand to scan this QR code themselves. I think that suggestion that you just made would definitely help with this problem and definitely expand the market. And thank you for that solution.
And one quick add-on, if you don't mind, is that the other nice thing about those technologies is that they have a broad berth. So whereas with QR codes, you kind of have to be up on the QR code to kind of get that picture. This one, I could kind of scan it from 160 degrees, off to the side. It doesn't necessarily have to be perfectly on it.
Yeah.
And so again, just think about how that broadens the market for being able to use it. And then it also broadens the market when you think about those are designed to kind of be able to support people who are blind or low vision too. So if I'm older, vision may not be as good as it used to be. You also broaden your population in that sense too.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Audrey, again, just a fantastic idea, and being able to capture family history is just a really neat concept, and to be able to pass that down to the next generation. Again, I zeroed in on that beautiful picture of your grandmother's wedding day. It's just amazing to hear the story behind that. You touched a bit on kind of your process, your production process. So there's the app price, which would be, I'm going to be able to collect all this information. Are you thinking that to produce the photos, would the pricing be based on, let's say, 10 photos, or is it going to be per photo, depending on how many people upload into the system? Have you gotten that far in thinking about pricing that way?
I would say we would offer different collage sizes, as we mentioned before, and then each size would have a specific photo capacity and a certain price to go with it. As well as maybe if they wanted to further customize it more, then customizations could include additional costs. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I was
Okay.
just kind of curious how that was going to come together.
Okay.
We have about 3 minutes, so I'm going to ask one or two other questions, and we'll kind of free it up. So you mentioned using the AI voice. Have you considered where, again, it depends on the age of the person you're dealing with or a family member, having their voice be the voice that describes the picture?
Yeah, so I did mention this in my presentation earlier, but I thought that we could offer the option for the user to either generate their voice or generate their audio messages using the AI that they offer. And also this AI would be customizable too, because the platform that we used specifically to create this, it was called 11 Labs. It basically offered all sorts of customization you could have to your AI voice, whether you want it to be more strict and formal or like caring and playful. Also adjusting the volume or like whether it was a male or a female. So we would offer this option, but we would also add the alternative option to upload an audio recording yourself, and we could do it so that whoever, maybe the family member or just the user themselves, could just like speak into or record and upload a recording into the platform, and then they would just link that recording with the photo using the QR code.
Perfect. We have 1 more minute left, so I'm going to throw it out.
Can I say something? My head's just going crazy with the ideas with this. Did you ever consider doing like NFC cards behind the pictures? Because I don't know if you've ever played like Animal Crossing or with like a Nintendo Switch using an amiibo to touch and making them talk or anything. But I could only imagine you had your like cell phone device, and you can make NFC cards with your phone. Just being able to take one of your pictures, it's going. You have a big old box of them. They see something that they remind them. They touch their phone, and it speaks to them. I just think that'd be really, really cool.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think we actually thought of that, but now that you're mentioning it, I think it would also be a really cool development. And it would especially like get rid of the problems with like struggling to maybe use the QR code.
Yeah,
or-
because especially if you
yeah.
do everything built-in app, which obviously this would be for the future, I think that would be a really easy, accessible thing to be, just instead of having it like that, they can just touch it on the card.
Yeah, I really
Yeah,
appreciate
yeah,
the
yeah.
idea. Thank you.
Okay, Audrey, thank you very much. This
Thank
is
you so
marvelous.
much.
Our fourth finalist is from Chantilly High School with the project Sage for Health. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Meghna Nanapaneni, and I'm a sophomore at Chantilly High School. Every 65 seconds, someone in America develops Alzheimer's. And here's what's heartbreaking. By the time most families realize something is wrong, years of cognitive decline have passed by in silence. Subtle changes in language, memory, and attention slip by unnoticed. Sage changes that. It's an AI-powered companion that actually listens to seniors. And while they're chatting, playing brain games, or sharing about their day, Sage is quietly analyzing cognitive patterns and turning it into actionable data for caregivers. Hi, good morning, judges. I'm Meghna Nanapaneni, and I'm a sophomore at Chantilly High School. And this is Sage for Health. I've built an AI-driven platform that doesn't just monitor, it engages. It listens to what seniors actually want to say. It captures health concerns through natural conversation, and it bridges the gap between a lonely senior and an overwhelmed caregiver. So, why does this matter? Let me give you the full perspective. 6.9 million Americans over the age of 65 are living with Alzheimer's. But here's what most people don't realize. Cognitive decline can actually start up to 10 years before a diagnosis. And current screening tools like the MMSE miss the subtle linguistic patterns that show up earliest. And on top of that, loneliness accelerates this decline. 26% of socially isolated seniors go on to develop Alzheimer's. And most health apps aren't designed around collaborative care. They don't connect the seniors, their families, and caregivers into one shared picture of well-being. But here's the gain. What if these early signs could be caught through natural conversation? What if cognitive engagement felt like playing a game and not taking a test? And what if families could see how their senior is doing in real time? This is what Sage offers. So how does Sage address these pain points? First, conversations, the Talk to Sage feature. It allows seniors to engage in natural dialogue, much like they would talk to a close friend. Whether they are recounting their day, sharing a cherished memory, or mentioning a poor night's sleep, Sage is always ready to listen. Again, this is critical because 26% of socially isolated seniors go on to develop Alzheimer's. Sage acts as a constant companion to ensure that no senior ever goes through a day in solitude. Second, brain games. Brain games, interactive games are the second pillar. We have 6 different games that all focus on a specific area of cognitive health, including memory, attention, processing speed, and pattern recognition. But again, behind the scenes, Sage isn't just keeping score. It's tracking subtle patterns, minor shifts, and trends that often go unnoticed on a day-to-day basis. Finally, the Family Hub. The Family Hub serves as a central dashboard that connects the seniors, families, and caregivers. It turns all Sage's insights into actionable data for caregivers. Caregivers, the Family Hub shares snapshots of health and cognitive wellness to ensure that family members never have to go through their day and speculate about their loved one's condition. Families utilize the Family Hub to exchange photographs, communicate their messages, and manage medication schedules. So I ask you, judges, have you ever tried to take care of your parents miles away and have them forgotten to take their medication? It's actually a life-threatening problem. So I can do the live demo now.
Well, hello, Meghna. How are you doing this morning? I hope the day is off to a lovely start.
It is. I'm a little tired, though.
Oh, I understand. It's important to listen to your body. Maybe you can take some quiet time for yourself today, perhaps with a cup of tea. Did you have anything planned for the day?
No, I'm a little lonely because my kids live in another state and they haven't had time to call me yet.
That can be really tough. I understand. It's natural to miss your family. Sometimes just doing a little something different can help brighten the day, like listening to some favorite music or maybe reading a good book.
Yeah, I really like reading some literature. What books do you recommend?
That's wonderful. There are so many timeless classics. Are you more drawn to heartwarming stories, mysteries, or something else?
I like mysteries a lot.
Ah, a good mystery. Have you ever read anything by Agatha Christie? Her books are classics for a reason, full of clever twists.
I haven't yet. What books do you recommend?
A great place to start might be And Then There Were None. It's very captivating. Or Murder on the Orient Express is another really famous one. They're perfect for getting lost in.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. I hope you find a story that truly pulls you in and helps pass the time pleasantly.
After we finish the talk and after we finish the conversation, this is what it shows. So it gives us a conversation complete, a little summary of what we've discussed, and then it created 2 health cards and 1 life story that has been saved. So I can go into the health cards and show what is there. So I expressed how I was feeling really tired and how I was feeling lonely. Both health cards are stored here with the severity level and description, as well as a recommendation that is tailored to what you described. This is important for care documentation. For example, if you are going to a doctor's appointment and let's say the senior has forgotten how they were feeling a week ago, which is a really real problem, Sage can instantly provide a health snapshot of how they're doing. And then there's also the life stories. So I'll show that down here. It creates a little book or chapter of what you were expressing. And I'll explain later in the presentation as to why this is really important. Okay, so this is the memory recall game. It gives a story, and we can just read it. It can also be played out loud, but we'll just stick with reading it for now. This is the easy level. So it gives us questions about what we just read. And I don't really read it, but we can just put our names. All these insights are stored in the home as well as in your hub. Okay. So I can go back to the PowerPoint now. So now, when you're dealing with seniors' health data, their life stories, and their daily lives, trust is everything. So let me talk about how we handle that. First, our database enforces row-level security, so data is protected within the database level. We also use end-to-end encryption, including for all data when in transit and at rest. We also never sell or share any data with any third party. But security is only half of the trust. The other half is control. Seniors are in control of what they want to share. If a senior feels uncomfortable having their health data or life stories shared with a caregiver or family member, they can turn it off instantly. Another part of Sage is for any senior to have access to a senior's health data, the connection has to be approved by the senior first. This ensures that at every step of the way, the senior is in control of their own data. So now I'm going to talk about our pilot study and what we've gotten some feedback on. So these are what some professionals have said. Ms. Susan Tweet, a Vibrant Living Director at Brightview Fair Oaks, called Sage an exceptional tool for cognitive wellness. She said how the health cards help staff monitor day-to-day changes and how they're feeling. Ms. Tracy Philemon, a Director of Independent Living at Walton Woods, said how imagine a routine doctor's appointment where you need to have a health snapshot of how the user has been feeling in the past couple of weeks. Sage can hand them a snapshot instantly. And for a senior living independently, this is the difference between guessing and knowing. So here is some user feedback. This first gentleman here, this is a conversation that he needed. His family member was dealing with a terminal illness, and other family members had come to terms to accept it. However, he was still emotionally struggling. However, after conversing with Sage for just a few moments, he expressed with relief after simply having an outlet. Another woman here, she loved to talk to Sage and she was comfortable in English. However, she had mentioned how her native language was Farsi and she felt much more comfortable speaking in that. This lady here, she loved to write, but due to her arthritis, she couldn't anymore. She said that she would have loved if what she was talking to Sage, it could transform into a book and what she was talking about, and that directly led to the Life Stories feature. So these are some real-world results. We've tested Sage amongst 35 seniors and professionals across 5 facilities, including the Sully Senior Center, Brightview Fair Oaks, Brightview Great Falls, Walton Woods, and the Goodwin House. 91.5% of seniors said that they would use Sage again, and 88.5% said they would use Sage again. And what we changed from feedback is we added the multi-language support directly from the user who said that she felt more comfortable speaking in her native language. We scaled up the default text size for general readability. We added the Life Stories module. We improved mobile navigation for senior accessibility. And finally, we added cognitive trend graphs into the caregiver portal for easy reading. So what makes Sage different? Let's talk about what exists today. Luminosity, Cognivant, and Brain HQ. These are all brain training applications. However, they offer limited or no caregiver visibility into daily well-being. Sage changes that. It has that caregiver dashboard with real-time wellness insights as to how the senior is doing, so no one has to speculate about their loved one's condition. So what's next for Sage? In the immediate term, we plan to develop a native mobile app for iOS and Android. Within 6 to 12 months, I want to create a smart home device with a built-in interaction and built-in screen and voice interaction. By 2028, I want to add mobility to this device so we can walk around the senior in their house. On the partnerships and scale side, I currently have a patent in progress, active pilot programs through the Mint Home Care and Caring for Life, as well as Brightview Senior Living. And I'll be speaking at the second Intergenerational Summit through the Northern Virginia Senior Research Network this fall. For clinical validation, I hope to partner with clinicians to validate tracking and pursue IRB-approved research partnerships, as well as longitudinal cognitive studies. So why me? Why did I start this, and how did this come to my interest? My mom, she's a geriatric care manager, and from a very young age, I had the ability to go into senior centers and assist and volunteer. When I was young, it used to be leading art activities, singing songs, playing the piano. But as I got older, I realized one thing that really overwhelmed seniors was technology. So in middle school, I started organizing technology education camps for seniors to help them with daily digital tools such as smartphones, laptops, watches, and tablets. It became evident to me that technology highlighted a dual challenge. Seniors felt overwhelmed with technology, and some were fighting memory loss. Then it came clear to me that technology could actually be used to narrow the gap between memory loss and technology rather than widen it. So the technology is built, the need is urgent, and the impact is real. With your support, Sage can turn from a prototype into a product, and we can make that we wish we'd caught it sooner a thing of the past. Thank you.
Thank you. This was fantastic. We have about 10 minutes for questions, and we'll start on my end this time, and then we'll go down. If we have time, we'll have other people will throw in some questions along the way. But as you had the app, and it was, well, it's a diagnostic, but with a few other pieces. Am I kind of correct on that?
So it's not really a diagnostic in a sense that there's no diagnosis happening. It's more to provide caregivers with data. So caregivers are so overwhelmed. They have like hundreds of patients, tens of patients, and having to ask each one how they're feeling. And I've seen through my mom that most seniors, they don't even want to respond to them. Like when you're seeing the same person every day, you have no inclination to talk to them. So Sage is more of saying like, hey, so they're really just a question away from like sharing everything, but not from the same person who's asking them every time. And so Sage kind of provides caregivers with day-to-day trends in your memory, attention, and the rest of the cognitive health, but it's not supposed to diagnose. It's kind of telling the caregivers, okay, so they're subtle in memory, but their vocabulary range is significantly decreasing. So in the back end, Sage utilizes NLP, which is natural language processing, to analyze cognitive health through evaluating factors like sentence complexity and vocabulary range. So it shows those insights, and I didn't show the caregiver portal, so if you'd like me to, I can show that. But in the caregiver portal, it shows the cognitive linguistic index and stuff, and that is what caregivers see. And if it shows graphical representation, so if it's stable, it's okay. But if there's a decline, caregivers can go take that to doctors, and then they can do a diagnosis like that. But it's not really a diagnostic tool.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if we're looking at your market, is it going to be more for the individual, or do you think it's going to be more for caregivers?
It's more B2B, so it's like assisted living centers in general. So we'll be pitching my idea to them, and we do have some through Mint Home Care and Brightview Senior Living. So it's kind of, you get it, we give you, we're implementing tokens. So tokens is a token subscription, so we give them 100,000 tokens per month, and each conversation takes like a certain amount of tokens, so they can pay for which tier subscription they'd like. And the assisted living gets to use that with whoever they'd like. So it's more targeted not directly to an individual, rather a company or organization.
You've taken a lot of care, so I can tell you've been involved in this kind of work for a long time. You know, from a young age, you talked about going in and out of senior center. So, and your confidence in talking about all of that really comes through as well. This is different than just, hey, I developed an app and this is the price I'm going to charge. And so you're kind of building out an ecosystem that you're trying to get people to buy into. Is there a way for you to, have you looked into being able to tap into other networks that already exist, like, for example, like caregiver networks that exist?
Yeah, so I'm actually, I connected with Mr. Steve Gurney. He's the founder of Pro Aging. I don't know if you've heard of it. And he's highly connected through the Northern Virginia Senior Resource Network. And he was the one who said that he wanted me to spotlight at the second Intergenerational Summit. So that's where a bunch of families and companies who are involved in senior care come together, and I'll be pitching my idea. They haven't told us it's August or September. So that's what I'm trying to do on caregiving. I created a Sage for Health Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And through Instagram, I reached out to the National Caregiver Alliance. And I'm still waiting on a response for that. But I reached out to them and see if they would like to try this out, see if it's helping caregivers. And on top of that, we have active pilot programs through Brightview and Mint Home Care. So, yeah.
One of the things I was, first of all, you seem very, very knowledgeable of the subject. I want to commend you on that. One of the things that I was, as you were telling us about your product, is that I feel like there's a lot of human involvement being removed. I know that I really like the storytelling function, but I felt like, you're like, oh, well, caregivers can see how you're doing, what you're doing. I felt like there just wasn't a lot of human interaction. I feel like it was actually going backwards, especially with because our target is loneliness, right?
Right.
And so I just feel like, what could you implement that brought back that human interaction?
So it's kind of is to put the human back into health tech, actually. And I get the concern that, is AI actually taking away the human interaction? But at an age of seniors, 65 plus, they are not able to engage with people, especially when they're dealing with Alzheimer's or any sort of dementia. It's really hard to get into their heads and see, why do you not want to collaborate with other people? But they're really just when you have a companion who's very well grounded. So this AI companion, if it detects anger or stress, it stops talking to them. It says, okay, I think we should take a break now. But I've seen through my mom, she deals with hundreds of these kind of people and seniors, and caregivers also, they get stressed, they get angry when a senior doesn't want to talk back to them, when the senior doesn't talk back to them properly, and it turns into a huge thing. So to alleviate the caregiver burden, Sage is acting as a companion, and it cannot replace human interactions. That's just inevitable. But it's kind of like I demonstrated in the talk feature, like if my kids are living in another state, they don't get to call me often. This, in the time being when they're not able to call me, I have someone to interact with. But it's not to take away human interaction altogether, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, I would really like to, we work within the community centers, and it'd really be cool to be able to like share some of these stories, especially the diary. I thought that was really cool. Something I thought of.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible job. You are very knowledgeable. It's very impressive. I'm happy you're here today. I really love what you're bringing to us. The brain games, I think, is a lot of fun and can collect really good data. The Family Hub is awesome. In regards to the AI talk, similar to what you just mentioned, AI is not a practicing professional. AI is not human connection. We know this. Are there parameters in place to kind of ensure that Sage is getting what it needs in a healthy, safe, and positive way, and while also preventing any misunderstandings?
Yeah, so that's a great question. That's something I was actually working on. So Sage never extrapolates from what the user says. So it takes exactly what the user says and puts it into the health cards or life stories. It never goes past, if a senior said, oh, my knee's hurting today, it will never say something more than that. It'll just tell the users or the caregivers exactly what the senior said. So it can never, the whole point of this is to understand that when we think about how care works right now, I see my mom every day. Families are making endless phone calls, and there's a high risk of miscommunication when you're going from one person to another person. So Sage is actually trying to change that. It's trying to make that there's no middleman, and there's no misdetails, and there's no misunderstanding. It's purely based off what the senior said.
Can you tell me a little bit about your language model that you're building, what it's based on? Is it all custom to you?
Yeah. So I've actually, it's using the games are using Gemini API or ChatGPT, OpenAI's API key, and the conversations, it's using Gemini Live API. So essentially, it's like having a conversation with Gemini Live, but I've tailored the prompt to be more understanding to seniors. So if they're feeling stressed or if they're feeling angry, Sage knows that, okay, this is a little time to I need to back off a little bit and let the senior rest. So it's kind of using Gemini Live, but my work in this was to ensure that the prompt I was giving to them, the Gemini and ChatGPT, was all based off of a senior's tailored needs.
Okay, very good. Anybody have one last 15 seconds?
Just a quick one about privacy. Is it using the data that comes in to actually train models? Is ChatGPT pulling that information and using it for training?
No, it never is. Once it's in ChatGPT, it goes into, I'm using Supabase as my database. Once it goes into Supabase, it's never back into GPT or Gemini.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic. Thank you very much. This is marvelous.
Thank you so much.
That's a wrap on episode 2 of the 2026 Fairfax Area High School Student Shark Tank Technology Challenge. We'll hear from our final teams in episode 3 and crown this year's winners. Thanks to our student teams for their excellent projects and to our judges for their thoughtful feedback. I'm Carmen Trina Kiers with the Department of Neighborhood and Community Services. Thanks for watching.